Great. So we're live. Welcome to the Perimenopause Portal. Um, if you are able to drop in how old you are into the chat, it's super helpful for me to know the age group of the audience and who I'm speaking to and how that gets delivered. Yeah, so Angie's 47, and Maggie, if you're oh, you're both the same. Yeah. 47. I'm 52, and so much of, yeah, my drive to get this material out is that uh, perimenopause isn't being recognized soon enough, that women are actually having symptoms as early as their 30s, and there is a sense of people not necessarily wanting to admit that they have perimenopause, or some internalized ageism really about even getting older enough to like take on that identity that we're growing into this age range of having perimenopause. So for whatever reason, I'm really committed to educating and getting the message out. Like, let's normalize the conversation. Let's talk about perimenopause. Let's um, start recognizing the signs sooner so that we can start working with our bodies in this time of profound transformation and not miss the boat and miss the opportunity to make it really special and empowering. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and really test my skills here and start the screen share. And let's see, I have my little links out here and made a coupon. There we go. How does that look? You can see the slides. Great. Can you see me? Am I like a little cutout in the... Great. That's just what I wanted. I also wanted to pop out the chat if I could. So let me try to drag this off over here. And now I can't really see y'all, but if you drop into the chat, I'll be able to see your comments in the chat. Thanks for the feedback. I am really excited to have to hear from you as we go. Perimenopause portal, attuning to the wisdom of the womb. Is it really wild? um, So, my mission statement is to lead a paradigm shift in perimenopause beyond symptom-based management and towards honoring this transition as an initiation into feminine power, purpose, and embodied wisdom. I'm Allison Lorne, a certified nurse midwife and registered nurse. I have over 25 years of clinical experience in women's health with a private practice which blends evidence-based modern medicine, Western medicine, pharmaceuticals, somatic processing, and intuitive energy work, and a patient-centered and holistic approach to healthcare. So that's body, mind, and spirit when we're talking about holistic approaches. I guide women through modern rites of passage to develop intuitive clarity so they can confidently self-advocate in their healthcare, relationships, and personal development. This work is about up-leveling your life in so many different areas. And you'll see the benefit of doing this work, yeah, in finding more presence and more embodiment in all these different areas. So today we're going to go over a little bit of the basic physiology and how perimenopause is a sacred portal. We'll talk about the 4 patterns that contribute to the old paradigm of anxiety, irritability, and rage. And we'll talk about 3 ways to step into the portal and access the inner wise woman starting today. So are you ready for an adventure? Today you've answered the call and the conversation's just beginning. At the conclusion of today's course, we'll go over other avenues to explore this work deeper. I do have a perimenopause portal course that I'm going to pitch at the end of the presentation. So I want you to be prepared and see that coming. It doesn't take you by surprise. decorum of the forum. This is a safe and inclusive space. All questions are encouraged. Please use the chat and we'll circle back if questions aren't addressed promptly. And any references to female anatomy, women's health, or gender specific language are not meant to be exclusive. So, introducing yourself, I was asking everybody how old they were. Debbie, you came on after Angie and Maggie had popped in their ages. If you want to write down your age below so everybody else could see it. I think I know you're like in your 30s, right? Just 30, right? Yeah, cool. So, yeah, we're all on this continuum, right? We're all on this journey towards menopause as women. The one thing that's guaranteed is that we will enter menopause. The ovaries will retire. So, at any age, it's good to get into this education and this wisdom and find your way through this journey, which is an incredible transformation of the psyche, physically, spiritually, and yeah, psychically. I want to go off into that realm so easily, so I'm working to stay focused. Let's just do a grounding experience together here. We're going to take a few breaths and drop into the body, doing a body scan. Each breath going a little bit deeper, and I'm asking you to identify the energetic signature that you're coming into this space with. When we talk about perimenopause and your relationship to the topic, to the subject matter, how does your body feel? Do you feel curious, excited? Is there trepidation? Is there resistance? Curiosity? Maybe even worry, anxiety. Everybody is going to be having a different experience right here in the moment. We're looking for what the body can show us, what the body can tell us. Scanning for areas that feel soft and areas that feel resistant with more tension, perhaps. Areas that feel open and yielding, and areas that are perhaps holding back. Bringing some curiosity into the physical body and asking the body to lead the way. So coming back into that somatic practice of tuning into the body, that's really our true north. This work is about increasing your intuition, increasing the connection to your inner guidance and your inner wise woman. So keeping that as a calibration point and bringing your attention back into the Zoom room. I'm reading your comment, Debbie, in the chat. I'm glad to hear you're excited. So what is the perimenopause portal? The portal is a passage. It's a threshold of transformation. It's not a distinct moment in time, but it's a continuum. We're really missing ceremonial rite of passage in our modern society. And whereas these rites of passage would give us context to understand how profound and sacred a shift in the woman's psyche is happening at perimenopause, we're just missing that opportunity to elevate the experience and give it its due honor. Instead, it's being reduced to symptom management, and a lot of the common conversations around perimenopause are complaining in nature, right? We're not really talking about how beautiful it is, and what an honor it is to be at this point in our lives. Let's not pathologize perimenopause. Perimenopause is a normal physiological event. The ovaries deserve to retire. They are working hard our whole reproductive lives. And after continually creating eggs every month, they deserve a break. There is a hormonal storm that's happening when we're entering perimenopause, like in adolescence. It's almost like the Richter scale, like the estrogen and progesterone, testosterone even are just going up and down and up and down. It's not just a steady decline, it's a real storm. Then we're seeing the declining progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone. And the reason I have an orca here is that orcas are one of the few mammals that we know of that go through menopause. This is the grandmother hypothesis, the evolutionary theory that suggests that those mammals that go through perimenopause and menopause do so because they significantly increase their own genetic legacy by investing energy in raising grandchildren or children in the society rather than having more of their own. And what we see with orcas is that it's a matriarchal society, and the grandmothers are the ones that have the longest memory of all the feeding grounds, of where all the wonderful prey is, and they lead the pod to these ancestral hunting grounds. And so it's really clear that these elder matriarchs have a really important role in their community, and that it's not just about continually reproducing. So we see this in orcas, narwhals, pilot whales, and other toothed whales. And there's some evidence that we may be seeing it in chimpanzees and elephants. There's a ton of other animals that we might be finding this out in, but right now, most of the mammals that we do observe continue to reproduce. It's really these larger mammals that are showing us that menopause might be a very helpful place for the entire community and society. This is a graph around the hormones in menopause transitions, right? So before perimenopause, we have premenopause. And this is the entire time from menarche, woman's first menses, into through her reproductive years before she starts seeing any perimenopausal symptoms. Perimenopause starts this. Is not a distinct, like these titles don't distinctly line up with these ages. These are continuums and it's different for everybody. And it's a very subtle shift from one phase to another. So perimenopause could start in your 30s. And if we see the average age of menopause as 55 plus or minus 10 years, you can understand how much variety there is in the case by case people's experience of these transitions. We start seeing progesterone decline first in the 30s, and then we start seeing this estrogen storm where it's really going up and down through the course of the 40s. At 55, we don't consider women to be fertile anymore. So we don't feel like the recommendation is that there's not a need for birth control after 55. It's not to say that there's not outliers and that there are some cases of fertility. During that time, it's also, there's an increased possibility that the ovary could be putting out 2 eggs any given time. The ovaries are going into retirement, but sometimes they have a little burst, a little extinction burst of trying harder to have one last hurrah. So it's different for everybody. And this conversation about birth control and then menopausal hormonal therapy when that transition is recommended is different for everybody. This graph is not so much about symptoms, like we might start seeing symptoms, but the hormones will be declining whether or not you have symptoms. Some people have more symptoms and some people have less. The decision to start hormones may be independent of symptoms. So if that makes sense, let me know how that lands. Thanks, Angie. Yeah, medicine does love to pathologize things. Let's keep it all understanding that this is all normal, that this is expected, and there. I have a point later on a later slide about that comment about how menopause is normal and the question about hormones, if we need to treat something that's a normal process in the woman's body. Why does perimenopause feel so hard? We often see increased anxiety, irritability, rage, and exhaustion. And this is really speaking to that hormonal storm when things are really going haywire, uh, but also spiritually, psychically, your old identity is completely cracking open. The old paradigm cannot continue to serve in the same way anymore. The psyche is being reborn. And this is a really incredible time. And it happens only 3 times in a woman's life. At adolescence, when the brain is bathed in the hormones and we have a rebirth of the psyche. Interestingly, in adolescence, the focus is so often on the peer group and looking to the peer group for identity, right? Who am I in relationship to others? And then we see this hormonal bath and this hormonal storm again in the postpartum period, right? All through pregnancy, progesterone takes over and becomes the dominant hormone. And then we see a precipitous drop in perimenopause, which is why perimenopause is such a huge psychic identity shift. Also, the focus being on the newborn and mothering. In menopause and perimenopause, we see again this hormonal bath of the brain and this psychic rebirth with the focus being on yourself, right? Finally, life is the old paradigm is starting to crack and fall away. And you really have this opportunity to be asking, what is it that's important to me? How do I want to show up? What's my legacy? You have this sense of like coming into these later chapters of your life, like it's now or never, like get into your power, stand up, rise. And the hormonal Richter scale is that wake up. It's like the time is now. Let's do this. Let's go, right? This is why it feels hard. Spiritual awakenings often are not soft. There's often a lot of turmoil and a lot of like this, it's kind of a sense of a break with reality. When this old identity, this old construct of personality that you've done such a good job of creating for so long starts cracking and falling apart and makes you really question, who am I? What am I doing? What are my priorities? And how do I want to show up? These are really big questions. So, reclaiming the narrative, acknowledging that perimenopause is a sacred transformation, actually elevates the experience and creates meaning. Instead of trying to mute our feelings, we can work to increase capacity for uncomfortable emotions. The benefit is less reactivity and increased space for your true self to come forward. When we see this transition as an initiation into our authenticity and authority, we can experience perimenopause as an awakening to our personal power. Let me know how that lands for you. That's really at the root for what drives me in doing this work, reforming the narrative, reclaiming the narrative, and helping women step into their power. The modern setup, without this paradigm shift, you just try to carry on with all your roles and responsibilities. You're walking around like a pinball, bumping into every sharp edge and getting triggered erratically and unpredictably. Things feel like they're coming apart, fraying at the edges, you're coming apart at the seams. Relationships suffer, life keeps getting more difficult, and it feels like the new normal is just a state of hopelessness. The body will always have the last word. That's a Brene Brown quote. And the sooner you start listening is up to you. The body's going to tell you this, we can't keep going on like this. The anxiety attacks, the hot flashes, the rage, the need to shake things up is there to let you know that it's time to step out of that old model and start making something new. Coming into the pillars of the portal: somatic practice, hormonal balance, and spiritual perspective. You'll see these sprinkled in through the slides here. My personal story: things totally fell apart in my 40s. In my 30s, I actually started waking up screaming at night. I would just like sit bolt up in bed screaming. I have a history of sexual abuse and a traumatic childhood stories, and there had been a lot of work in talk therapy, but it wasn't really getting me through as much of the trauma and nervous system dysregulation that was seeing me and supporting me as my perimenopause symptoms were starting to come in. This is when I was in the toxic relationships, friendships, and romantic. I was drinking, and I had a really stressful career as a nurse midwife, working in hospitals, working night shifts, working at Planned Parenthood, walking through protest lines to go to work. It was a really intense period in my life. And at one point, one of my bosses even asked me if I didn't want to go on antidepressants. I was really brittle and moody. I wasn't dealing and coping with my stress really well. And as a nurse midwife with over 25 years of experience in women's health, it's embarrassing to admit that I didn't realize I was in perimenopause. Enter somatics. My trauma-informed therapist encouraged me to go see a somatic healer doing Rosen body work, and it changed my life. The body doesn't lie. The body's always in the present moment. The body always has the last word. And when we start orienting ourselves to the body, it really helped me find a way to hold myself in a way that talk therapy had never been able to. I had tried every modality out there. Hormonal balance was the missing piece. As an herbalist, I had done such a great job of strategizing and taking care of myself, my anxiety, my sleep disturbance, my moodiness. I have a whole line of women's health tinctures. But if I had realized sooner that hormones would have been so helpful, I would have started hormones sooner. It wasn't until I had frozen shoulder at like 48 that I finally started hormones. And looking back, I wished I'd started them sooner. They're not for everybody, and it's not like everybody wants them, and I'm not here to tell you like that you should be on hormones if you don't want to be on hormones. I'm just saying that the data supports it, the science is there, and I'm a big fan. This spiritual perspective is really what helps gives us meaning in the struggle, in the passage, in the portal. When we understand that being in our power is our birthright and the best way for us to help lead the way for anybody else to find inspiration and to find a path that we might lead by example, it starts to become greater than yourself. You start understanding that there is a calling to step into this power, and that this is one of those opportunities when the identity and personality is cracking open, that you get to choose who you want to be and how you want to show up. And different than adolescence and mothering, this is the time for you to decide how you want to show up for yourself, your presence being your gift to the world at large. So I'd like to ask you to come into this as a visualization exercise. Thanks, Debbie. Yeah. Let's see. So we're going to try dropping in again, closing your eyes, taking some breath. And I want you to consider your own journey on this continuum of hormonal shifts, identity shifts, and see if there isn't a thread of awareness that you can identify that things have started to shift for you. Whether that's sleep, whether that's moodiness, irritability, just thought patterns, relationships. Are you noticing anything that feels more challenging that you can attribute to being possibly related to this shift, this profound shift? You might not have to go back very far to find something that feels like it might have been a little challenging. And I want to ask you, what do you feel like you could have used? What would have made it better? What sort of internal resourcing could have made it better? Perhaps having a softer approach, having more confidence, having better habits, having more self-compassion. What is that would have really helped? And can you find a symbol of that? Holding that in your hand, coming up with something that represents what would have helped. And going back in time, finding yourself there and gifting yourself this symbol. Looking into your eyes and meeting yourself with love and compassion, with belief and confidence in your ability to get through, to thrive, to come out even stronger, even better. And perhaps placing your hands on your heart, feeling yourself receive that gift. Breathing that in, integrating that in, bringing it in to the body, having it land somewhere for you. Yeah. And let's, if you feel like sharing, just dropping that into the chat. What is it that you feel like would have helped you? Just a couple words there about what that symbol was, what it was that you needed to help get through, what would have really helped you. When we do this work in the timeline of going backwards or forwards, we're really giving ourselves resource in the quantum field, which is beyond time, really. We're serving ourselves in the present moment by going back and resourcing ourselves in the past. Softness in the form of a small light pink pillow towards my husband and children. That is so sweet, Angie. Gosh, that's really beautiful. When we do this work, we can also reach into our future selves and ask our future selves to give us the gift that we need in the moment to help navigate our challenges. Meeting yourself in your eye is a really powerful piece of the practice, and recognizing how resourced you are when you give yourself the time and space to engage in a practice of self-healing in this way. Oops. Oops. Let's see. This is a busier slide. It's speaking to some of the obstacles that keep people stuck in the old paradigm, right? This attitude, I'm just trying to get by. I can barely keep from blowing up at every little thing, right? Speaking to the rage, the perimenopause rage, which is a real thing. Unexpressed emotions don't disappear, they accumulate in the body, waiting for a safe way to move. When we invite the body into the healing process, emotional energy can release, allowing the nervous system to soften and settle. Um, I really do encourage you to download the guide for alchemizing rage. If rage is one of the things that you're feeling, it's I was walking the dog around the lake last week and I put my hands over my mouth and screamed really loud because I was having so much rage that day and I just needed to move. I was pounding my fists on my thighs. Um, and I've gotten to the point where I do represent processing in real time in public. I'm the person that might be crying in the grocery store, because moving our emotions is so much more important to me than bottling it up. And I'm also interested in shifting the paradigm around what's appropriate, right? I think it's important to give ourselves time and space to feel our feelings. It's not always appropriate to do that, but if it's if you can find the time and space to do it in real time, it's great. Otherwise, visiting the ritual guide and making the time and space to get into the body and look for the channels, the pathways, establishing the pathways as a daily practice helps keep things clear. Uh, this is another attitude. I don't want hormones because menopause is natural. And I'd like to suggest that diabetes is natural, heart disease is natural, arthritis is natural, but that we don't hesitate to treat those conditions. Menopause hormone therapy is evidenced in scientific literature again and again and again as being helpful in preventing disease and helping you live longer. There are also tons of herbs and supplements for supportive and early treatment of specific symptoms. Inside of the portal and inside of the course, we have a whole module on hormones and herbal support and supplements, lifestyle and nutrition. So there's a lot to work with if you're not ready for hormones or you're not interested in them. Um, let's speak to the fear of things falling apart. I'm scared it's all going to fall apart. Work, relationships, finance, it all feels like it's just hanging on by a thread. And to this, really, it's let's just experience the fear of things falling apart. Let's just entertain the idea of what that really means. Let's allow ourselves to have a somatic experience of fear of things falling apart. Not that everything needs to fall apart, but what is the fear about? Often the fear is the resistance to opening to possibility. It doesn't mean things need to come crashing down, but when we open to the fear, we reduce the amount of anxiety and worry that's surrounding the idea of things falling apart. So, really decreasing our fear, decreasing our worry, and decreasing our anxiety. This is the shadow work of healing work when we go into the uncomfortable feelings and mine them, finding somatic expression so that they can move and that they're not pulling strings from off stage. Uh, Lastly, this is the biggest one. Shifting the paradigm starts with you. I hear this summarized a lot. It's so overwhelming. I'm doing all the things and I still don't feel like myself. I should be able to figure this out, quote unquote, on my own, right? I don't trust my body anymore. I just want to feel like myself again. I feel like there's this message around hyper independence that women should be so competent, they should be able to take care of themselves, especially those of us that are in healthcare. I should be able to figure this out. I think I'm guilty of this a little bit. Like, I think I had my own denial around my perimenopause symptoms. And I'm someone that's in women's health. I just didn't see it for what it was sooner. But you're not meant to do this alone. We were never meant to go through this alone. We were, right, living in society in close relationship with other women in our community that had gone through perimenopause and menopause, women that had experience and story to share, right? Feeling like we're not just bumbling through this experience without a map and falling into just asking one another, are you having a hard time sleeping? When there's women out there that have this knowledge and can be sharing this and passing it down, that's where the social fabric is woven together, and it's really what's missing in modern society. Creating the portal, the perimenopause portal, there's a great element of community here in the group calls, and it's really a place to come together and find that fabric that's so often missing today in modern society. Excuse me. So, three ways that you can step into the perimenopause portal yourself today: the somatic practice, getting in touch with your inner guidance through somatic awareness, through tapping into the body, working the ritual, having a daily practice, in processing your feelings in real time, using the body to express what your emotions are asking for, right? Wanting to be seen, wanting to be felt, wanting to be witnessed. This is part of the emotional upheaval, and it's part of the spiritual up leveling that's happening in perimenopause. Uh, Again, the guide is in the Dropbox, and of course, the portal is all about these somatic practices, going deep and getting into the shadowlands. Uh, the hormonal balance, the piece around hormonal balance, I invite you to identify the areas of your life that are showing imbalance, and what is the solution that you're ready for. Maybe that's sleep disturbance. Maybe that's the moodiness. Maybe that's irritability. Maybe it's joint pain. Maybe it's irregular bleeding. What are those signs of perimenopause that are showing up for you? How might you recognize what's happening? And how do you want to remedy it? There's options for breaking hormone therapy apart. I have patients that are just on progesterone, and plan to add estrogen later. Testosterone is a piece of that puzzle. Beyond just libido and supporting libido, testosterone is really great for muscle mass, right? And brain health. So we're wanting to catch these symptoms earlier rather than trying to play catch up later. And so hormonal balance is one of these pillars of the portal. Just doing an evaluation of your own journey and seeing if you can identify any of these symptoms yourself. And then the spiritual context. What is the meaningful outcome of your personal transformation? Where do you want to take this? How do you want to find your empowerment? How do you want to show up and be an inspiration, be an example for others, especially if you have daughters? Yeah, yeah. I don't have children, but I feel this work is so important for every woman that's coming after me. But especially as anybody that has a daughter, navigating perimenopause as an empowering experience is going to create a template for your daughter to have a meaningful experience. And so often we have women that are in perimenopause with adolescent daughters. They're coming into their adolescence as moms are going through perimenopause. Talk about hormonal storms in the household, right? It can get really intense during that time. And that's why this spiritual calling to create meaning greater than yourself is so encouraging, right? It feels like there's so much guidance there when you realize it's not just about me. It's about reaching others. It's about living in my highest integrity in order to help anybody else that could witness me on my path. Uh, you're so worth it. Thank you so much for coming and attending and giving your attention today. Uh, for anybody that wants to go deeper and find this as a sacred passage, sacred rite of passage, and find your path to empowerment, the portal's open. I'm going to drop some checkout links in the chat and my Calendly link also to schedule consultation if you're interested in joining. There's two options in the perimenopause portal. There's a 3-month group program. And in the group program, there's 13 self-paced modules with recorded videos and PDFs. There's weekly group calls. There are calls on the first and third Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m. and the second and fourth Thursdays at 10:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So there's 4 calls a month weekly, group calls to find community and to go through the modules and answer any questions. And with the group program, you're going to get a bonus 90-minute one-on-one call, a personal appointment. Normally, this would be $14.99. If you sign up in the next 48 hours, you get 20% off. And so that's $1,200. The 3-month personal group coaching is all the group features. So you get the group community, you get the modules and the PDF, and then you also get weekly one-on-one intuitive healing and somatic coaching calls. We can really go deep into treatment plans, what any previous lab work that you have had done, or any previous treatments that you're coming in with, and really evaluate what's working for you, what would you like to see more of, what sort of balance are you looking for. And then you also have email access between visits. Happy to look at any documents you might have, and that is $29.99, but with 20% off, it's $2,400. You can, I have a checkout link for the group program. If you're interested in the personal coaching program, make a link, make an appointment on the Calendly link. And now I'm going to take off the screen share and see if you have any questions and answers that I can provide for you. I'm going to drop these in the chat. Maggie, I see you have a 13-year-old that's just started her period, right? And then you just had your first hot flash. Right. So this is phenomena. We see it really, it happens a lot. Two ends of the spectrum being experienced in the household at the same time. Let me see if I'm going to get this in here. Here's the Calendly link. If you want to schedule, and if you just want to touch base, you can have a free consultation call, a 20-minute consultation call at any time. And would love to have you in the program. The program's just launching now. So I'll put the group checkout page here also. The groups are really small. This is us. This is it. It's just starting. It's brand new. So if you join now, your group program is going to have one-on-one or close to one-on-one support. The group is going to start February, the second week of February. I think it's February 12th will be the first call that Thursday morning. That's when the course will open and the modules will be available for the self-paced progress. It's a drip style course, so it's coming out one by one. The modules will be out, like keeping pace with the weekly progress. And then you get those weekly calls as well. Happy to open it up for questions because I'm just like curious how the presentation landed, if brought anything up for you, if you have any questions. And you can come off mute just because there's so few of us if you want to jump in.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I really love the presentation. The exercise of looking at a past event was really powerful, and I really appreciate that gift, giving us that gift. I had a question for you from I had seen a nurse practitioner group around um, perimenopausal symptoms. We did labs, and like she said that on the 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 quiz I took or whatever of my symptoms, she was like, Angie, this is like the highest I've ever seen. And she was like, this, you obviously are exhibiting a lot of, symptoms. And then we got my labs, and then labs came back, and she was like, well, your estrogen's fine. And it was like such a hit that like I just cried and cried and cried. And because it made it feel like, again, like just not being heard. I'm really sorry to be so tearful.
No, I can hear. Let's just like bring this in. I feel the throat is being activated, right? So it's like, yeah, this
Not
we
being heard.
exactly. Yeah.
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 And uh uh well they did order some progesterone for me and said, here, well, you can try this. And I could feel their like lack of confidence in guiding me through this. And that was what I took from it, was like, I don't know if they were, and I've had the bottle of progesterone in my cabinet for 2 months now, and I haven't taken it, and because I just don't have a lack of I have a lack of trust in the whole thing. And I just didn't know if you had any words of wisdom. I trust you through this. I've gained trust, and I just kind of wanted to hear what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I just
Sorry.
want to apologize. Like often feel like being a healthcare provider, like you see so many gaps in care, and I
Hmm.
just feel sorry for
I
anybody
know.
that gets those messages, right?
Hmm.
That first that you're not the expert,
Hmm.
right? You know what you're experiencing. You
Yeah.
came in requesting support and requesting help, right?
Hmm.
And not only yeah, are you not met? But then it almost feels like the undercutting of saying the labs are normal. I've heard this so often, uh, just that, yeah, the hormone levels are normal, um, as if like you don't need to attend to the symptoms,
Yeah.
right? Just because the labs are normal doesn't mean you're still not struggling,
Right.
right? So just to validate that the struggle is real,
Hmm.
yeah, let's just start with that.
Hmm.
Perimenopause is that continuum, it's that spectrum of symptoms. And the labs in any given day are different.
Yeah.
So,
That was my kind of thought was, isn't it the storming and norming that happens? Is the whole process so like, did we get it on a day? Did you draw my blood at a single point in time where my ovaries were working just fine that day?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right. So what we do know is that the trend in perimenopause is a decline, and that we
Hmm.
see progesterone declining first. So that
Hmm.
even if it's like within normal on any given day, next week it could be really low and you could be storming. It doesn't preclude starting hormones.
Hmm.
So we don't I don't draw labs to determine when to start hormones.
Hmm.
I am a fan of hormones. I'll just say that hormones can be really helpful. Starting progesterone in your 30s can be a great idea, especially if you're symptomatic, but not even if you're symptomatic. You can start progesterone because we know that it's declining.
Hmm.
And progesterone is the nest and rest hormone. It
Hmm.
gives us that sleep. It gives us
Hmm.
the nervous system regulation. It gives us that softening. It gives us that extra cushion so that things don't feel so brittle and hard.
Hmm.
progesterone is that hormone in pregnancy. So we see the roundness, the nurturing, right? We see that
Mm,
that settling in
mm,
that happens in pregnancy. So progesterone in and of itself is great to start. You
mhm,
have the prescription, you
mhm,
have the bottle,
mhm.
and you're not starting it because you didn't trust the recommendations and advice of this provider that felt like they were giving you mixed signals.
Yeah, it was felt like if they're just kind of throwing it at me without, I mean, they did a great job of giving me pamphlets and things to read and said, here, take this and we'll talk about it in a month and see. Um, I, but I didn't feel like I heard enough of a well-rounded like explanation of what my symptoms were to be able to trust that that was even the right hormone treatment for me. Does that
Hmm.
make sense?
Yeah. Do you want to share? Do you want to share more?
Um, I expected as a nurse, I expected more education about my body and what I was going through.
Hmm.
And not receiving that made me automatically, they wrote me a prescription. I did fill it, but I also just it was I knew instantly that like they weren't my people.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, I love my progesterone even more than my estrogen. Like if I get in bed and I forgot to take it, I like get back out of bed and go take it. Like I'm like sometimes you get totally tucked in and you're like, "Oh gosh." It's worth it because it helps me sleep so much better.
Mm,
Um,
that might be beneficial to my life.
yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Like of course you can like I'm a huge fan of herbs and other sleep hygiene
Hmm.
approaches like screen
Yeah.
time and all the things that you know of already. But progesterone, we don't see any risks of taking progesterone. Estrogen has that slight risk of increased blood clots.
Hmm.
Um, the dose, you could start at 100,
That's what they
imagine.
started.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's the lower dose. And you can just try it and see how you feel, right?
Yeah.
And give it, I would say give it at least 3 months.
Mhm. I read your email that said 3 months.
Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah.
there is sometimes that like couple weeks of like sometimes it makes you feel uh overly tired. Like you're used to being without it. You're used to being like grinding and then
Hmm.
you're giving this warm blanket and sometimes you're just like, "Oh, there's a mismatch of how I was expecting to feel and how the
Hmm.
progesterone's making me feel." So giving yourself a little bit of time to adjust.
Okay.
um at least a couple weeks, but 3 months is like when we start any hormonal birth control, anything. Usually we're like start a medication and then 3 months later is that great interval, even
Hmm.
cholesterol statins or something like that, right? You're like
Yeah.
3 months is a good amount of time to give your body a chance to see if it's acclimated.
Okay.
But don't be surprised if you feel a little overly tired in
Okay.
those first couple weeks. I woke up with like puffy eyes for the first couple
Hmm.
of weeks. So you might take
It's
it
giving first trimester, by the way.
totally. Totally. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And so overall, I think when you get through that, you're like, oh, I feel so much better. But
Okay.
at first, there's like that sort of adjustment period.
Okay.
So you might take it sooner in the day, like at 4 p.m. instead of 10 p.m.,
Mm.
so that in the morning you don't feel as slow to wake up, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. I really appreciate you talking me through that.
My pleasure. Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. Anything else coming up for anybody? Maggie said, I feel like I can blame everything weird on perimenopause, but I also have an IUD, so I just feel confused at them, uncertain where to go with it all. Yeah, IUDs are awesome. I'm assuming you have a progesterone IUD. And the reason we use progesterone in hormone therapy is to reduce the risk of endometrial cancer when people are taking estrogen. So when you have the hormonal IUD, you'll often get the recommendation that you don't need to take progesterone, which I personally don't agree with. you're not getting the systemic progesterone with the benefits of feeling softer and more supported and getting better sleep and having less anxiety. So, women in their 30s with anxiety, depression, sleep disturbance will often go to a primary care provider and get antidepressants when really it's progesterone decline. So, with the progesterone IUD, you'll often be told, oh, you have the progesterone on board, you don't need it. But you can certainly request to take systemic oral micronized progesterone for those other benefits that the IUD does not provide when it's just being locally delivered in the uterus. I hope that makes sense, Maggie. Yeah. And oh, good. Great. Yeah. Very helpful insights. Thanks. It's not a magic wand. Everything is not perimenopause. And uh, menopause treatment, perimenopause treatment is not a magic wand for your whole life. Which is why in the portal, in this holistic approach of the somatics and the spiritual and the physical, right? Mind, body, spirit, we're talking about a whole approach to helping you find more balance and more meaning in this transition. Uh, there's no one silver bullet that is gonna make everything wonderful. That is the journey of our lives, right? Is like finding our way through. That's what makes it meaningful. That's what makes it rich. That's where we find our own purpose. So, as much as like the list of symptoms in menopause could be like 70 symptoms long, it goes on and on and on. It is like a complete reformation. It's a complete rebranding of the identity and the personality and the psyche. Uh, there's more to it. It like you get out of it what you put into it. If you come into perimenopause with the attitude like I am going to use this as an opportunity to up level, to make the most out of where I want to go and how I want to steer my ship in the coming years, it's an incredible opportunity to find purpose and meaning. Yeah. Um, Great. I really loved presenting on this. Thank you so much for being part of my first presentation. Thank you coming again for Debbie. I know that she's dropped in before. It's like a totally different experience, I'm sure, than it was before. Debbie's been able to watch my growth over time. I appreciate you coming again. Um, Good to see you. Um, by all means, if you want to talk more and get in on a consult, visit the Calendly link and schedule a call. Happy to have you and take advantage of the 20% off for the next 48 hours. The portal's going to kick off on February 12th. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for coming. And if there's anything more, we'll just let it breathe for another 30 seconds or so. Feels like a good wrap up. Yeah, great. Angie, I look forward to seeing you on a call soon.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, take care, you guys.
Bye.
Have a great day. Bye.